Oh, this isn't that bad. I don't love it. You guys want to see the bedroom that we're staying in? Look at this. Sweet. Sweet, baby. Be that bad. I even sloppily remade it for you guys just so you could have kind of the experience. Got some funky art, some beautiful post and beam, which, goddamn. And then, oh yeah, yep. Do we deserve this? That was okay, that's difficult. Yeah, I do deserve it. Let's do a little bit of a catch-up out here, shall we? We shall, shall we? Figured I would do a little check-in, a very brief check-in. I am currently reading 2 books again. I'm doing an audiobook. We have a little bit of a long drive, so I figured that I would do a book. And I was really influenced by being in those mountains. There's something about mountains to me. They're so untamed. They're so mysterious. There's such an ominous presence about them. Even if the sun's out, you know, there's still this layer of cloud that just lends itself to this utmost mystery. And I've been obsessed with Everest and Everest climbers for about a year now. I got really into it. I got obsessed with Alex Honnold. Climbers, to me, that's such an interesting and niche sport. So I figured that the best way to kind of cap off that trip to the mountains was to listen to Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer, which, if you weren't already aware, I'm a huge fan of Jon Krakauer. I'm a huge fan of outdoor writing, and this is amazing so far. I'm about 2, almost 3 hours in. The narrator is very good. He divides between different accents, which I think is really important in a audiobook. But this tells the story of the 1996 Everest expedition that went completely awry. About 5 people died, I believe, and Jon Krakauer was sent on assignment through Outsider magazine to report on the commercialization of Everest at the time. Between the 70s and the 90s, Everest was so overridden with tourism that it was just kind of becoming this trash plant. Unfortunately, it's kind of the same way now. There's like a really famous picture within the last 2 years that just show these lines waiting to go to the Mount of Everest, which is kind of sad. But at this point, it was still a relatively kind of an anomaly to be able to climb to the top of it. I mean, it still is. I'm not climbing up. But yeah, Krakauer was sent by Outsider magazine to talk about the commercialization of it. He was given kind of a free ride, which is insane because it's about $65,000 to climb the mountain, and that's not including your own equipment. That's just for a guide, a reputable guide. And the Sherpas are paid barely anything, which is a whole different conversation in itself. Krakauer's writing is really to the point, which I love. He's a journalist, so it's very fact-based, which when I'm reading a nonfiction book, I really enjoy, because I'm reading it to get information. So far, he's just talking about they're at the initial base camp, which is already 17,000 plus feet in elevation, which is astounding. That's kind of what's going on with that. He's talking about the different people on the trip, the complications that they're already running into. There's already this air of something is going to be going wrong, but nobody's really sure what. So I will be listening to more of that today, probably finish it. We're probably going to drive home back to Kyiv from Lviv. We're back here. We did so we started in Kyiv, then we went to Lviv, and then we went to the Carpathian Mountains, and we stayed there for 2 days. And now we're going back to Lviv. Well, we're back in Lviv, and now we're going to go back to Kyiv. So there's that for you. And then the second book that I'm reading, I'm actually reading The Great Gatsby. You know what, my selections of books are quite limited, and that's fine. It makes me pick up books that I wouldn't re-pick up again. I've read The Great Gatsby probably 2, maybe 3 times. I think everyone's probably pretty decently familiar with it. But if you're not, it follows Nick Carraway and his relationship to Jay Gatsby, who is a multi-millionaire on Long Island, and it's all about love and wealth and the uproarious 20s in New York City, the complications of seemingly having everything that you want but having nothing at all. And it's great, you know, this is like a really nice, meditative, melancholic, going into fall read, which is exactly the type of emotions that I want in a book in the fall. I love it. I mean, it's dark outside right now, as you can see, so this is kind of a perfect summary on that weather. But what's really fun about this is that it has English and Russian. I mean, I'm not really getting into the Russian side, but you can see the text has English on one side and then Russian on the other. And the pages are so thin that I keep on feeling like I'm skipping a page, but I'm not. Those dogs are barking. I'm gonna go walk around, get some coffee. There's actually the tent behind me. That is a coffee festival that's gonna be going on, which I'm very excited about. Because I love coffee, and my skin is so dry from this weather, it's not even funny. Sometimes you can't win, baby. Sometimes you cannot win. All right, bye. Beautiful Lviv. Hi guys, I am back in Kyiv, my home base, for almost 2 months now. There was actually a really great New York Times article that just came out. There's a woman, I forget her name. I'll put the article here, a little blurb of it, and I'll link it down below as well so you can read it. But she is a New York Times columnist, and she is originally from South Africa. And what started as like a very brief layover in Kyiv turned into she now resides in Ukraine. And she's talking about a lot of places that I've actually highlighted on videos, districts, coffee shops, festivals that are happening, clubs, areas that I've actually talked about in videos. So to have it be so serendipitously reported on right as I'm living here kind of feels fantastic, and everyone is so proud to have the article be published and have really just the beauty of Ukraine come into the main focal point of the rest of the world, because it really is just such a beautiful place. I mean, the people are beautiful, food is wonderful, the culture is there, everything is just, people are just bursting with this excitement for life. So that's just what I finished reading. In addition to everything else. Let's do the wrap up on the books. Let's make it kind of brief. Let's do a little brief sitch. I don't know if I want to do it this way or what. Should we do it this way? Ooh, is this a cash sitch? I think this is nice. Yeah, I like this. Let's talk about into thin air. Bitch. Holy shit. It really hurt me. I mean, I've read a lot of books about war, I've read a lot of books about horrific things that have happened to people, but there was just something about this book and the commentary in it that just really sent me into this depressing kind of spiral. As I touched upon before, it's talking about the 1996 Everest expedition that just went so wrong. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. 8 people ended up losing their lives. Sherpas, very reputable and experienced hikers, inexperienced hikers. It was just so tragic. And Jon Krakauer actually was one of the few people to reach the summit, and he had come back down to the base camp when there was a massive storm that ended up wiping out the 8 individuals that did not make it. There is a very famous story of a particular hiker by the name of Beck Weathers. You might know his face. He was kind of left for dead during this expedition, and he ended up in the morning after the storm, spending I think over 16 hours in the exposed temperatures and compromising conditions. He ended up walking back into the camp and suffered from horrific frostbite, but he ended up surviving. And that kind of brought even more notoriety to this expedition. I mean, it was very well known as well. There was also a Japanese woman who would have been the oldest woman to summit Mount Everest had she made it. I believe she was 47 years old, maybe 48, and she also passed on the mountain as well. So it was just this whole melting pot of unbelievable happen chance moments that congregated to make just a horribly unforgettable thing. It really breaks my heart. You know, like I was saying, I've read a lot about war, I've read a lot about horrific things, but there was just something about this. There was so much hope and there was so much excitement. These people were thinking that this was going to be life-changing. They would be able to say that they summited the world's largest mountain, and in a way, all of their problems would be solved, and it unfortunately created so much worse of a outcome. This book is so fact-based, it's incredibly fast-moving. Krakauer goes deep into the history of mountain climbing, deep into the histories of who were the first to climb it, deep into the different cultural annotations with climbing, the different reasoning for all of these climbers, the backstories, their families. It was just this multi-layered version of the story that you wouldn't otherwise get from just a very banal exploration. I thought it was great. Like 4.5 stars. The only thing I have to say, as much as I love Krakauer, I think, of course, he has to extrapolate on his own experience to kind of get into the heads of the people that did pass. But I think there were moments that his own guilt might have kind of superseded everything else. And I think there might have been, I don't know, I think he was so guilt-ridden about potentially not have done as much as he could have in this situation that he may have otherwise brushed it off on others who past, and trying to kind of tell their stories without actually knowing exactly what was going on in their minds is the only thing that I would have slight contention with. But I thought it was a great story, and if you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. It almost reads like a thriller because it's just so unbelievable that this actually happened and these events actually unfolded. It's just wild. Highly suggest. Great fall going into winter read. Baby. And then we got the Great Gats, the Great Goots, the Great Goose Bee. Listen, I have a little story about this, okay? I was in a beautiful cafe, just sucking in the literature, sucking it in, getting deep into the throes of this book, and I ordered some pesto toast, a large cappuccino, was reading for an hour or two, left, said spasiba to the lovely barista, and I walked down to the Podil district, which was about 35 minutes away from where I was having coffee previously. Reached into my bag to take out some hrivnas because I wanted to buy another necklace, and I realized that I had lost my wallet. So I speedily called Oleg. I said, "Oh my God, I think I either got pickpocketed or I left it at the cafe. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm gonna pass out, blah, 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 blah. I was a drama queen and I own those actions. I called the cafe, they had it, everything was solved. But I was just so engrossed in this text that I completely forgot to take my wallet with me. My lifeline, if you will. I think it tells you everything you need to know about my experience with this again. This is great. I mean, come on, you know the story. It's all about the interpretation of wealth, loneliness, what we do to show love for people that don't care about us. It's, oh God, I just think it's the pinnacle of American literature, and I don't think that it's going to lose its luster. And I don't think it's going to lose how synonymous it is with American ideologies, American ways of living. I don't think I'm gonna give this book away. I think I'm gonna keep this with me. It's very seldom that I keep books. Usually they have to have really emotional attachments to them, but there was just something about this. I actually don't have a copy of The Great Gatsby, but there's something about this that I just really enjoyed. That was a horrible review of it, but I don't think I really need to give too much a review to it. I think this has been reviewed 10 times over by every single person in the world, and I don't need to be that additional person. But I did want to read to you. There was one sentence that I had. This is my favorite line from this. It resonates with me so much this time of year, and this is why I picked this book up. Jordan Baker, the Gulf star in this, he is talking about how hot it is. And she has this great line. She says, "Don't be morbid," Jordan said. "Life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall." She's not lying. And that's exactly how I feel. All right. Ooh, yep. Guys, I think I've got a fun video planned for next week. I think it's gonna be good. I think you're gonna enjoy it. I hope you do. All right. I love you. You're fabulous. You know that. You know that. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show.